Welcome back to another episode of Toon Talk TV, the top animated podcast on YouTube. If you're new to the channel, be sure and like, follow, and subscribe. Today, we have a really special guest. You know him from Dawn of the Croods, Voltron, Legendary Defender, Extinct, and most recently, an associate producer in the animation department for Marvel's Fantastic Four First Steps. Please welcome to the show the wonderful Brenden Hill. Brenden, thanks for joining us today. Hello. Man. So the last time we actually, the last time we actually saw you was at Gen Con a couple months ago. How's life been since then? What have you been up to?
Life is good. My daughter just turned 1 year old, so that was an exciting time in my life. Just working hard to finish the project that you guys saw at Titmouse, and then just moved on to a new project, and yeah, can't complain. It's busy but good.
Can you talk about the new project at all, or is it secret?
Yeah, I can't yet.
Okay,
unfortunately, right. It's I've actually left Titmouse, starting up a new thing. So, but when I can, I'll be sure to let you all know.
Cool. Awesome.
Hey,
so what did you do for your daughter's first birthday?
We had a Harry Potter themed The Chosen One 1 year old birthday party, which was
nice.
A lot of fun. So
nice.
Yeah.
Bob just had a little kid too. yeah. I had a first.
Nice.
Ours was bubble themed. A lot of bubbles all over the backyard and stuff. But
yeah. We had bubbles. She
nice.
definitely digs the bubbles. I get that. Yeah, for sure.
So tell us, why did you leave Titmouse?
Yeah, no, I'm a special projects producer, so I'm on per special project, and we were wrapping Draw Your Weapons, and in hopefully in a great scenario, we sell the show, and we're out there making a season 2, and I'm coming back. So yeah, I love Titmouse. There was a great group of folks over there, and really enjoyed my time. Got to work on a lot of very, very cool projects. Fantastic Four being one of them, and some other development projects, a video game, which was very new to me. So yeah, it was a great time.
Cool. So tell us about what your current work situation is. As a producer, that's a lot of freelance gigs, right?
Yeah, so what I can say about what I'm doing now is a former colleague of mine at DreamWorks, Nigel Tierney, and I have been wanting to collaborate for some time, and he reached out to me. He actually was, in a roundabout way, the way I sort of fell into Titmouse also. But he directed a short Earth song with Little Dicky. It was like like Justin Bieber and all these incredible artists in it. And he was directing a few things in like the crypto space. So that like NFT crypto space was getting heavy in animation. And then he recommended me for a job to do this like Coinbase NFT marketplace, like promotional trilogy. We did not end up getting to make the full trilogy, but we made the first part. And after that, the video game project at Titmouse was with the NFT company, and I had a friend who was a producer there that knew I had some experience in that space, and that's sort of how I got in the door at Titmouse. And I was on that game for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
It was a long time.
So I saw that. You're talking about the DGen trilogy, right?
That was the
Coinbase
project.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
That was intense. I'm amazed that something with that amount of animation and work put into it, that it just gets canceled. How does something
Fair.
like that happen?
I mean, I think we premiered it the weekend of NYC NFT in New York City at like Radio City Music Hall, and that was like literally when the crypto winter started that summer. So it was basically and this is not an area I'm that well versed in, to be honest, like that space, but all of that stuff sort of hit a floor that summer. And so I think, the powers that be at Coinbase did not see a reason to invest further in the trilogy at that point. So it's unfortunate. We had some cool stuff planned, and It was very cool. A lot of mixed media in that, and CG and 2D, and a lot of graphics, and it was a great time. But yeah, cut short. But that's that's sort of the name of the game in entertainment, right? Like whether it's a series or a feature. I mean, I've worked on things that never saw the light of day, so the fact that at least a third of the trilogy got made, and happy with it.
So I got to be honest. Yeah. It's hard to not attach yourself sometimes to these projects. Like when they get that intricate, I'm sure as a producer, you have to attach yourself to it. Otherwise, it's going to feel dead. So when in those projects that just never see the light of day, are those just gone, never to be seen? Or is there any way of like pulling those out and putting those on YouTube for a reason, for any reason at all? Does that ever happen?
No.
Not
I mean, not for me, right? Because I'm at that. Those projects are specific to like when I was working at DreamWorks Animation. So like they own them. They have every right to do whatever they want. As a producer, you're work for hire. You're brought in to do something. Now, earlier in my career, when I was doing like independent live action films, right? And even prior to that, doing theater, where like in Chicago, where you get that to what you're talking to, like you're extremely invested. It's your baby, like you're fighting for it all the time. You are able to, if you're controlling the purse strings, you're bringing in the investors, you don't have necessarily a studio or a client to answer to, then of course you can decide where it goes and what you want it to be. But you learn quickly, I think, you don't have a choice. You learn quickly, like, you're not the master of these projects in a lot of ways, moving, in a studio setting for sure. And, you hope that you put all the love and attention and energy into them, and that they do, have life beyond. But all you control what you can control, which is doing your job well, bringing in people you like working with that do their jobs well, and you coalesce around this collaborative vision, and it's all art at the end of the day. Even some's more artsy than others, but it's all subjective, depending on how things are going to do, and it can be fickle too.
So can you talk a little bit more about the producer role? Because I feel like some of our audience, when we hear producer, it could be anywhere from taking a project from the beginning by yourself and doing it all through yourself, or maybe you have a team underneath you that you're orchestrating, or maybe you're just funding the whole thing. Like, I feel like there's a very broad term behind producer. Could you kind of touch on what that means for you and the projects that you've produced?
Yeah, I can speak to it from my own point of view. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have different takes. I mean, and there are different producer roles within that title too, right? You have your line producers and your associate producers, etc., and executive producers. I think a general rule of thumb is, I think it depends if we're talking about like independent projects versus like studio films. In my case, starting in the independent world, producing is very much getting something off the ground floor and going. Whether or not you are sourcing the material and the idea or the IP, whatever you have, or someone's bringing it to you and asking you to come on board. An independent film, a lot of it is finding financing. I think a common misconception is producers bring financing with them. That is, we need jobs too. We want to get paid to do our job. We'll certainly help find financing, but no, we did. Unfortunately, I don't come with a fund of funds to fund all these films. Now, I'm sure there are producers, Jerry Bruckheimer, that have that at their disposal. But those of us that are working producers, that is certainly not the case. But you hope you have connections and inroads to different places where you can look at distribution or look at resources and sort of compile the whole the whole piece together. And certainly in indie film, you're looking for financing because, unfortunately, being in control of the financing also gives you more control over the project, which generally in those situations you want. Now, working for a studio is a totally different thing, right? Like, you are, for the most part, assigned to a project. Sometimes have choice, sometimes have little choice. And you're given a budget and a goal, and you're putting together schedules and managing the resources to get something on time, under budget, of quality, right? Like, that's ultimately your job. So resources is money, it's time, it's people, it's talent, right? Like, it's all of those things. So ultimately you're sort of the center hub on the wheel, connecting all those things and managing it. So that's sort of what I would say it is, and then you just have to, whether it's pulling up a schedule, entering payroll, onboarding people,
a lot of hats,
right? All the way to like, hey, I have this great idea. Let's go meet with so-and-so and see if they'd be interested, and let's start kicking this thing off the ground. Like, that's obviously the fun stuff. But it changes. The fun part of like my career specifically is like, I was able to produce theater and get it off the ground. Then I did indie film. Then I worked at a studio. And then I got more into like the line producing role, where it's very much like the numbers and the day-to-day and the data management on spreadsheets. And I think it's important to keep all of those muscles working, because as a producer, you are very freelance and you don't know what the next project necessarily will require the most of within your toolbox. So yeah, try to keep them all sharp.
Our audience is really going to appreciate that wealth of knowledge that you just dropped there. So thanks for hitting on that. Like at Toon Talk, we all are storytellers. So
right.
With the stuff that you can speak about, do you have like a fun story to share on a project that you helped produce that, you're like, oh shit, like I don't think this is going to get off the ground, but it did? Like, just something really cool, like a fun little story to tell that you could share?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest one for me is probably my first live action film, which is not animated, but it's how I got my foot in at DreamWorks. I had produced theater in Chicago, moved to Los Angeles in 2008, actually like the night of the election. And like leaving Chicago is like Obama's talking at Millennium Park. But yeah, it was wild. But when I moved to LA, I had like saved some money bartending in Chicago, whatever, and then like the economy of tanked, and was doing what every like actor knew to. I was like catering and bartending on the side and stuff while trying to audition as an actor and get things going. And I got cast in this play, and the woman who wrote it was catering at DreamWorks because they would have events on the studio all the time. They have a commissary there and a whole chef team and everything on the studio. And so I befriended the executive chef there, and he was like, we need someone that knows bar, because we do all these like 50% of lighting is done. Let's have a party. Like these are like the good days in animation, where it's like you had a lot more resources. We had a lot of parties on lot. So I started at DreamWorks working for like the Bon Appetit catering company, like literally setting up lunches, setting up tables.
Wow.
And so at that time I was producing like short films, and we had made this short film Walter, and it had done a couple like small festivals, but the thread response we were getting was like, there's something more here, like have you guys thought about doing a feature? And I had screened the short. DreamWorks was really open to, like, we had a screening room, and they would allow people to screen their like homemade films or animated shorts even. And I had screened the live action short, and a producer there who became and is still one of my best friends saw it, and he was like, what are you doing? I was like, well, we're trying to make a live action feature out of this. And so he came on and helped as well. I had already gone and borrowed some financing from personal connects back in Indiana and got the ball rolling. and yeah, I'll never. We started the casting process, and I was setting up a lunch like outside of like Jeffrey Katzenberg's office, and like get a call from CAA, and I'm like, oh, I gotta like run outside, and it was like William H. Macy agreeing to do the movie, which I knew like triggered the rest of our financing.
Wow,
it was like a very surreal moment, and like I like emotional, like I was like trying to set it. I was like, oh my god, I'm making my movie, and and then when it was done, we sold it to E1. We premiered it like Palm Springs Film Festival, and I gave Jeffrey a copy, and he wrote me this really lovely like hand note of like basically like I knew you were up to something else, and not just doing this catering stuff. Like congratulations,
nice.
And then we sold the movie, and I was like, well, I need a job. like indie film is great, but like I would love to have a job. And luckily I had been caterer at DreamWorks for years at that point, and we were starting the television division, and I just went to HR and I was like, I want to work at the studio. I know nothing about animation. I just produced this film. And they got me an interview at DreamWorks TV. Guy hired me there, Eric Vesbit, who's now the head of production for Flying Bark animation studio, and him and I hit it off. He had done a movie that had gone to Sundance as an actor like decades ago, and he hired me as a PA. I was just like, just hire me as a PA. He's like, I was like, I know nothing about animation. I know I just produced and sold the movie, but like I know nothing. So he hired me as a PA. My first job was on Voltron. That's how I got to meet and become friends with Joaquim and those guys. And yeah, I think the first day, like sitting at my computer, was just like pulling screenshots from like the old Voltron series, like for reference. It's like the first job in animation. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then that's how I got into the TV world. At DreamWorks.
Hell yeah,
so,
man.
I guess it's a very long-winded way of saying
no,
like
that's great. That's
you do
awesome.
a project and you never know like what it leads to.
For our audience, you heard it here first. Go into catering. That opens the doors. Be a caterer, dude.
Yeah. Well,
there it is.
so
there it is.
Could you what I'm really interested in hearing after you just said that was I feel like a lot of people make their own stuff. They make movies, but selling it doesn't even exist in their mind. It does, like how for them it's like how do you sell a movie? Like, did they approach you? Were you reaching out to people and saying, hey, we're looking for, like, what is that process like? Were you involved in it at all?
Oh yeah, I mean, but so much. I mean, that was 10 years ago, and
right,
so
yeah,
much is
okay.
different now. Like this is pre social media influencing, and I mean it was that. I mean it was pre Netflix becoming what they are, right? Like we were trying for a theatrical release. I mean it's so different now. I think artists now, especially in animation, have such a opportunity to create their own stuff with the technology they have at their disposal and put it up on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, whatever it is. And the reality is, like, even on like recruiting lists at Titmouse and things, like there's links to everyone's social media because it's such an easy way as a producer to just scrub through and be like, yep, this fits what we're looking for. This fits our show. This fits this person's aesthetic. It's such a wonderful way to, open a window to yourself as an artist. I think is super important. As for independently producing stuff and distributing it now, honestly, like I feel like such a dinosaur in that world. But I think people have the ability to create their stuff, and if it is of some quality or has some point of view and you put it out in the world, hopefully it gets traction on its own, right? And then you can turn that traction into something else potentially, but yeah, ultimately, I mean, even the show that you guys saw at Gen Con, it's a very DIY show, right? And it was like Josh had an idea, Chris loved the idea. Chris obviously happened to own a studio, which not everyone has in their back pocket. But it's like, let's go shoot this show. Let's go shoot a D&D show in our lobby room that is built for D&D because Chris is a huge D&D guy. So, but you know, that show is independent in a lot of ways. Obviously, it had a studio behind it, but it doesn't have a home. Wasn't pre-sold to have a home, so it's the same sort of like can-do attitude as like independent film or someone trying to create their own animated series at home or series of shorts and stuff. And I think it's important for producers to see artists trying to create on their own as well. Like you get a sense of someone's point of view, someone's style, someone's sort of voice artistically, and I think that that's great. Creating is good.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. So I guess is a good segue into something that we are all fans of, the fucking Fantastic Four, man. Like, how cool was that, seeing something that you worked on pop up in a Marvel movie? Like, that has to be mind-blowing. Yeah.
And not even just
it was pretty cool.
the end credits scene. It's
That's massive. That's massive. Right there.
Yeah. We're very happy about that, for sure. Titmouse had done work on WandaVision prior with Matt, the director. And honestly, like, I had a wonderful personal connection to that production. Their production supervisor was a friend of mine from college, who's also from Indiana, like the region up near Chicago. And he had reached out to me and been like, hey, we need something. We don't really know what it is, but can Titmouse do this? And of course I went to my bosses. I was like, we can do this, right? Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, we were lucky to, like, I had a relationship with Tristan. The studio had a relationship with Matt already, and they had done great work on WandaVision. And so I think it was an easy sell to Marvel. It was an interesting process because they knew they needed something, but they didn't quite know what they needed. And our first attempt was not what they wanted. But our second attempt, when we were like, okay, we understand what is needed here, and then it was a lot of fun because then Kevin Feige got Michael Giacchino involved, and we met with him, and he had scored my last feature, Extinct, when I was at Wink, so it was great to like reconnect with him. And he wrote this, you know, Saturday morning cartoon ballad to our animation, which is wonderful. And then it just kind of became this thing. And our director Simone he's just incredible, and it's like the perfect project for him because he's very much into like the history of animation and the art and the old school stuff. And he was able to, and frankly, he could speak much more technically about this process, but we tried to really be true to what could have been done in like the Hanna Barbera style in the 60s, and didn't use any obviously everything we're doing is digital. It's not like we hand drew it, but using techniques that could have been used in like a 60s. We didn't want to use anything like super modern, even in comp, to make it look as if not of the time. Yeah. So there's a lot of little mistakes in there. There's a lot of weird things. And yeah, it was very cool. And you know, you never know. Like, here it is, you turn it over and you never know. You may not get off the cutting room floor. And then I was told it was going to be the end credit scene, and I was very happy about that. It was very cool.
So you said you had a first try that wasn't what they were looking for. What was wrong there? Like, I mean,
I wanted to hear that too.
I think it's crazy that they would just come to you and say, we don't necessarily know what we want. Could you just kind of make something and see what happens?
Yeah, no, I think Matt had an idea for what he wanted. Okay. And then when we did something to that idea, I think the idea changed. I think, you know, with every creative process, it's like, oh, we think we want that. You know what? That's not it. Like, sometimes you see what you don't want to better understand what you need or what fits better in the film. And I think they wanted something that was a little more like all encapsulating of like, well, these heroes have been in this world for a while. They have their own cartoon. here are their powers. We're going to show you the powers, and then some of the villains that they had fought in the meantime. The interesting part is like Malkovich made our
I was about to
animated
say that. Yeah,
bit.
he didn't make the movie.
But he's not in the film, which is unfortunate for him. But he's in there in our animated bit. Yeah, no, it was a very cool process for sure.
It came out great.
That was wonderful, and luckily. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like it was so smooth, considering the scope of that project.
Yep.
I was very lucky because our team crushed it. Simone and all the artists on our end were crushing it, and so we were very lucky. Marvel was very happy with the creative from the jump, and once we knew what we were making, and that was great. Funny anecdote about that project is. We're done. It's delivered, and Tristan reaches out to me, and he's just like, "Oh, this is their prod soup," and a good friend of mine. He's like, "Oh my god, I don't know how we didn't catch this. We didn't catch this." I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he was saying the thing has 5 fingers in the animated short, but in the cinematic universe, right, he has 4. And I was like, "Oh my god, we didn't catch it." And then I was like. Oh, but have you watched the Hanna Barbera cartoons from the 90s? Because he has 5.
Yeah.
So in the original Hanna Barbera stuff, it was like a true nod. And for whatever reason, Simone knows the reason more than me, but they wanted him to, I guess, seem more humanoid or whatever. So in the 60s Hanna Barbera, he has 5 fingers. So Simone did it purposely to mirror that style rather than like the cinematic world. And so it was like this big mistake was actually like one of the intentional I guess you call them mistakes, but like our lines are uneven. There's little things that like would have authentically happened in a 1960s cartoon like that. It was very important to Simone to get all that right. So that was my favorite one. That was just like,
That's
it's
cool.
gone, it's done, it's delivered, but he's got 5 fingers, and the thing only has 4. And it's like, well, look at that original art.
And you're forever linked to the MCU too now, man. They're fucking tethered. So hell yeah.
So how much detail does Marvel end up giving you guys? Because I'd imagine they have quite a say, but from what you're saying, it didn't seem like they had that much say on the creative. They kind of let you do what you wanted to do.
No, they definitely have say.
They
will.
That's what I'd assume. That's what I'd assume.
Yeah. No, because our first pass, they're like, absolutely not this. But here's guidance into what we do want. I just meant like on our end, they were so happy with what we were doing. We didn't have to go through, thankfully, like, don't do this, don't do this. Now there were like, which enemies can we use? Like, what villains can we put in this? Because is it going to, our Mole Man needs to look like Paul Walker Hauser in the movie, and obviously Malkovich, who didn't make the movie, but like, and then we had ancillary villains in that animated piece that are who knows, are those in the movie? We had no idea, right? So there was a lot of back and forth with that. There was technical challenges, which would probably bore all of your listeners, but that was probably the hardest part, right? Like the VFX, putting 2D animation, which is pretty simple in comparison, into a VFX pipeline with like all the shots they're dealing with and cameras and stuff like that was probably the hardest thing, because luckily the creative was going pretty smoothly, and we made tweaks. Our character designs were a little off at first. We had to adjust those. There were certainly notes on we put some Easter eggs in the background of things that we were not allowed to do and had to omit and things like that. But
naughty, you can't do that.
Yeah. They were homages to certain artists of the Fantastic Four, but I think certain Marvel and certain the litigiousness of Marvel will make sure that you're not leaving anything in there that could be
for sure.
Right.
Could be an issue for sure.
Hell yeah, man.
Tell us more about Extinct, because that's a feature that's on Netflix, and you're executive producer, a co-executive producer on it.
Yeah, so I was working for a company. Actually, it started with that same producer that I met at DreamWorks that that worked on Walter with me, who's now producing everything in the world. His name's Ryan Harris. Wonderful human being. He was doing Lego Movie at the time, and I was trying to leave DreamWorks, honestly, and like find a job with him, and he was kind of like, just wait, there's something brewing. And we started a company called HB Wink. It was financed by Huai Brothers, which is a huge studio in China, and we were their LA office and tried to get several projects off the ground for like a global animated sort of company, Western facing, and then also domestic projects in China. So I was a creative executive there. I was the head of global development. I had, 8 movies under me, and then Extinct was brought to us by Joel, Rob, and John, which were all Simpsons writers, and it was their concept. And then David Silverman, who directed Monsters Inc. and the Simpsons movie, was our director as well. Raymond Percy also directed. So as our head of development and an EP on the film, I was front-end production, mostly in concept, story, and then working with our head writers. And then we brought in some junior writers as well to punch up scenes and work on fixes, because those guys were really busy full-time on The Simpsons as well. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of, just to work with some, David's a legend on The Simpsons, and those guys, and just be around Simpsons humor.
Oh yeah,
every day was a lot of fun.
Nice.
And we partnered with Cinesite, which was our animation studio in Montreal. And then we did have there was a Chinese company also on that side, so it had a domestic release in China, and then it had a small theatrical release here, Sky UK also, and then it's on Netflix currently. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun that movie. Great cast. Got to work with Catherine Ohara and Harry Winkler and Adam Devine and Rachel Bloom and Zazie B. Great time making that film. And probably the coolest part was doing the score with Michael and Mick Giacchino at Skywalker Sound.
Nice.
Just with a live orchestra. It was just incredible. That was a blast.
So you're sitting through your day-to-day when you're working on a movie like that as a producer. You're sitting through every process.
Sure. Extinct was a little different because I was also our head of development. So I was flying back and forth to China. I had projects in China. We were trying to get going as well. And we had a producer, Aaron Dem, and Marcus Mannanen was there, and then Helen Sarek. They were day-to-day on Extinct, I would say.
Okay.
I think in terms of my involvement, day-to-day was mostly in creative meetings with David and the writers, and then writing changes. So a film like that, you break it up into so many sequences. You sort of put those sequences in priority order. The ones that need work or rewrites, I was going off with those writers. We were brainstorming. They were writing. We were presenting that to the Simpsons guys, producers, signing off on new dialogue or changes, and then getting those back into the production pipeline. And then I would be involved in editorial, reviewing animatics, and then sequences as we're turning those around as well. So mostly story creative. I was not the day-to-day, like what I was doing on, I keep calling it Blue Moon because that was our code name for it, for Fantastic Four or Draw Your Weapons, where it was very much like line producing. We had super great producers doing that on Extinct. My role was primarily creative and front-end production, but as we were starting the show up. Because once you have a vendor studio, like a sister studio like Cinesite, you're sending shots to them, they're animating it, they're turning around, then we're reviewing, we're giving notes, then it goes back off to them. In our office was mostly above the line. So our editor, directors, our storyboard artists, our designers were in-house, but all the animation was taking place in Canada.
Very cool.
So speaking of creative, a question we like to ask everyone who comes on is, what are you currently watching, reading, or any type of music? What are you doing to stay inspired?
Well, my head is very much in musical theater right now, specifically. Specifically, Avenue Q and Book of Mormon.
Nice.
But I have been on this new project actively. We're sourcing writers right now, so I've been interviewing 70 to 80 writers, and all of them have done submissions, so I've been reading other people's work right now. But one writer did recommend a book, and despite reading all these samples and having a 1-year-old, I'm reading a fiction for the first time in a long time and loving it. It's called The Bright Sword. It's like an Arthurian. I've been into like King Arthur stuff, and I'm enjoying that so far.
Cool.
In terms of watching, I truly just trying to get caught up on everything. I'm just behind and watching everything. It was watching Draw Your Weapons like 17 hours a day for the longest time. So this time of year, my wife and I do relax a little, like Halloween Baking Championship, or Great British Bake Off, or
Harry
sort
Potter
of our decompression. Yeah, season 2 is coming for that.
Yeah.
My wife is very excited. So yeah, I'm trying to read this book, trying to read some more graphic novels right now. Some that are older but are getting recommended to me that I'm reading. So yeah, what did I just watch? I just saw The Substance. Like, that's how far behind I am.
wow.
Like,
That's a good one,
I
though.
sat down and
That's a
watched
good
that.
one.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. That was a lot
Yeah.
of fun. So yeah, I just right now I'm face deep in writer submissions for this project. So, and listening to Avenue Q. So
Nice.
Love it.
Hell yeah.
yeah.
Well, with that, Brenden, thank you so much for hopping on the show. It was a real pleasure. Again, go check out Fantastic Four. Go check out Extinct on Netflix. Be sure and like,
And
follow,
hopefully soon draw your weapons.
Hopefully
Yeah, that's right.
soon,
Yes.
draw your weapons. Yes. Be sure and like, follow, subscribe, and we will catch you guys on the next one. Brenden Hill, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
Brenden.
Cheers. Thank you guys.
The Early Television.